Welcome to Series 2, Episode 5 of When Safeguarding Fails, the Lizzie Gladwell Crisis. I'm Jeremy Gladwell, Lizzie's dad, and I'm telling the heartbreaking true story of how our daughter, a vulnerable young person, was taken, isolated, and subjected to coercive control, and how she was cast adrift by the agencies tasked with safeguarding. The operator in the Humberside Police control room had said to me almost casually, "So let me see. According to the notes on file, Lizzie left her foster home to go and live with her boyfriend. Is that right?" Her foster home. The phrase hit me like a punch to the stomach. Lizzie wasn't in foster care, and I wasn't a foster carer. Yet here was Humberside Police reducing me to a footnote on their system. With a single careless label, they stripped me of my identity as Lizzie's dad. Our story was being rewritten to suit their narrative. I queried it, and the officer's response? "If you want to see the note, you'll need to do a subject access request." And that was the beginning of yet another descent into bureaucratic quicksand. I turned to Thomas Scrimshaw, the safeguarding lead from the Methodist Church. Should I make a subject access request? He recommended that I do just that. It was either that or demand a full judicial review. A judicial review? No, thank you. Every fibre of my being told me that it would be a trap, a dead end that would simply squander time, burn up hope, and achieve nothing for Lizzie. However, it seemed that both Humberside Police and Adult Social Care had information in their systems that gave them cover to treat me as an obstacle rather than a parent. A subject access request could reveal what that something was. A subject access request is an individual's legal right to ask an organisation for copies of their personal data and supplementary information. It was a chance to see what the police and adult social care had written about me. The presumptions, the prejudices, the lies. Organisations have a legal obligation, note, a legal obligation, to respond to a subject access request within 1 calendar month. And so I pressed ahead. After all, what choice did I have? I hated fighting paperwork battles with these agencies. All the time, it felt as though I was trapped in a labyrinth of lies and deception, moving further and further away from Lizzie. Every path to her was being blocked by the agencies. Why? Sometimes you've only got one move you can make, even if you're not sure if that move gets you closer to your goal or not. I submitted 2 subject access requests, one to Humberside Police and another to Focus Adult Social Work. I understood that I could only request information about myself, and I fully expected them to redact anything about Lizzie. I made it clear in my request that I accepted any information about Lizzie would be redacted. I was doing this for Jane, who was traumatised. I was doing it for grandparents who were bereft, cousins who were bewildered, godparents who were heartbroken. I was doing it for Lizzie herself, who had been cruelly deceived. I submitted 2 subject access requests. The agencies had 30 days to respond. The countdown had begun. Focus Adult Social Work replied first. if you can call it a reply. They said, and I quote, "We hold records of correspondence between yourself and Focus, dating back to 2023. However, as you are not the subject of this communication, and due to the sensitive nature of the information, we are unable to disclose it to you." End quote. In other words, we're not telling you anything. But I wasn't asking them to send me my own emails. I already had those. I wanted to know what they had recorded about me. Accusations, allegations, opinions, insinuations. Opinions recorded about a person count as personal data. The law is clear. The UK GDPR makes this explicit. They were obliged to disclose it. Yet they stonewalled me. They breached their legal obligations outright and deliberately. What does that tell you? It confirmed there was something they didn't want me to see, something they were hiding. And yet at least Focus managed to scrape 1 point out of 10 for actually sending a reply. Unlike Humberside Police, who responded with silence. Nothing. A month passed. I reminded them. I set a deadline. Still nothing. Silence. Rude? No, not rude. Illegal. I went back to Scrimshaw exasperated. "What do I do now?" I asked. He advised me to report them to the Information Commissioner's office. So yet again the labyrinth extended in complexity. Every step I took towards Lizzie pushed me further away. Every attempt to reach her dragged me further into a whirlpool of unfathomable bureaucracy. Soul-destroying, hope-crushing, utterly exhausting. Why was I being treated this way? I was a dad whose daughter was ripped away from her home and family 1 day after her 18th birthday. Why? Her links and routes of communication were severed. Why? And what was it that the agencies didn't want me to know? Jane and I continue to argue passionately that Lizzie is a victim of sustained coercive and controlling behaviour. The significance in Lizzie's case is that her FASD diagnosis and her low IQ in the intellectual disability range means that Lizzie may not be able to recognise these behaviours as coercive and controlling. However, that doesn't mean that they aren't. A diagnosis that makes a victim less aware of manipulative control does not make abuse acceptable. It doesn't excuse it. It makes it worse. It shouldn't be brushed aside or dismissed. Of those surrounding Lizzie and guarding her, who was there to help her understand the manipulative exploitation that she faced? Who was there? Coral? No. Lewis? No. Gary Atkinson of Focus Adult Social Work? No. Humberside Police? No. Linkage College? No. Beyond that, there was nobody, because Lizzie was fully isolated in a cloister of control. Everybody that she interacted with had a vested interest in keeping her there. That is why it was so crucial to the Wilson-Clark objective that Lizzie's links with family and friends were thoroughly severed. Listen to this brief definition of controlling behaviour. This is the official definition from the UK Government, the Home Office, the Local Government Association and ADAS. Considering everything that has happened with Lizzie, as presented in the document and described in this podcast, would you say that this applies? Quote, controlling behaviour is a range of acts designed to make a person subordinate and or dependent by isolating them from sources of support, exploiting their resources and capacities for personal gain, depriving them of the means needed for independence, resistance and escape, and regulating their everyday behaviour. End quote. Isolating them from sources of support, making them dependent, exploiting their resources and capacities for personal gain, depriving them of the means for independence, regulating their everyday behaviour. Why have the agencies been so blind to Coral's actions in taking, isolating, manipulating and exploiting Lizzie? One reason might well be a complete lack of awareness in the agencies about how to spot controlling or coercive behaviour. One evening on the news, I heard a very illuminating news report. See what you think.
Abuse Commissioner for England and Wales says that social workers should have mandatory training in how to spot coercive and controlling behaviour. Nicole Jacobs was speaking after being shown evidence from a BBC investigation that found many social work students may not receive specific training on how to detect this kind of abuse, which sees perpetrators isolate and harm their victims. It's been a crime since 2015, and there were nearly 44,000 offences recorded last year. Anna Collinson has this report.
It's like you're living with bated breath.
Psychological control intensifies over time.
He started imposing various rules on me.
Break the rules, and there can be consequences.
The news report then gave first-hand accounts from victims of controlling or coercive behaviour, including punishments, threats, violence, isolation, manipulation. One victim said that social services failed to recognise the lies that they were being told by the perpetrator.
How would you describe the support you receive from social workers?
I haven't received support from social workers.
The aims and objectives for today are going to be for you to have an awareness of coercive and controlling behaviour.
It's a massive challenge detecting a controlling abuser.
She thought, they're not going to believe her. He's not been physically violent, so can it really be that bad? Is it abuse?
A challenge many social workers face every day, says Rani, a manager with Birmingham Children's Trust.
If we don't understand coercion and control, then we don't understand domestic abuse. If we don't understand domestic abuse, people will be at risk of being killed.
Coercive control is the more difficult one.
It's a psychological violence.
Here the team gets specialist training from a domestic abuse charity.
When social workers are not given that training, you're actually disempowering social workers.
The BBC has found too often social workers don't get support like this.
If I get it wrong as a professional, a woman might die. She might be killed by her partner, by the abuser.
It's about thinking outside the box. What else can we do as part of that safety planning?
The regulator expects university social work courses to teach skills to detect coercive control, but our investigation has found more than a third don't. As for those who said they offer training, courses could be up to 20 hours or as little as 1 hour.
I just find it baffling.
We shared our findings with Nicole Jacobs, the Domestic Abuse Commissioner for England and Wales. Is it acceptable that nearly a decade after coercive controlling behaviour has become a crime, there are social workers out there who don't understand what it is?
Training for social workers should be mandatory. There's so many reasons why we have to get this right from the start, at the start, not learning on the job. And that's so important for victims and survivors.
The regulator, Social Work England, say they inspect university courses to meet professional standards for safe practice, and they're preparing new guidance on coercive control.
These injustices cannot just be allowed to carry on indefinitely.
Lisa now gets online support from coercive control expert Dr. Emma Katz.
Every single day, just getting out of bed in the morning is an absolute struggle. It's left my life in pieces. when there is nothing left of my life that gives me any hope for the future.
But she needed help at the time from social workers, who she says misunderstood her abuse. Now her relationship with her child has been severely damaged.
In another BBC article entitled, "I had to investigate my own abuse case because the police failed me," the victim of coercive and controlling behaviour explained with exasperation, quote, "I spoon-fed the police. They just didn't get it. I was treated like the bottom of the pile," end quote. The victim's lawyer reported, quote, "When you look at the abject failings that have been made by the police, it beggars belief. Too much of my job is taken up advising victims who feel fobbed off by the police when they report coercive control. There are too many women who have lost their lives because of this," end quote. A BBC investigation found that 10 years after coercive or controlling behaviour became a crime, there is a wide disparity in how police forces in England and Wales recognise and understand the offence. Police responses can be so poor that victims say they have to become their own detectives. Our advice, based on our experience with obstructive agencies, is this: keep thorough records. Document everything, including your feelings and emotional responses to institutional indifference. Maintain a daily journal and record phone calls. Do not give the agencies the benefit of the doubt. We began recording conversations after 5 months. We wish we'd started from the outset. This isn't about gathering evidence for court, but ensuring you are absolutely certain of your facts about who said what. I sink into the miry depths where there is no foothold. I have come into the deep waters, the floods engulf me. Psalm 69 verse 2. My wife Jane, Lizzie's mum, tried to stay strong. But one night as she broke down in tears, she cried out, "Where is God in any of this?" She questioned her faith, her purpose, and whether there was any justice at all. The grief seemed endless. There was no closure. We couldn't call Lizzie, see her, or check if she was okay. It was bereavement without a funeral, a loss without the chance to say goodbye. I don't understand, God. Where is the light in the darkness? Where is the peace that passes understanding? What of the Good Shepherd? O God, come to our assistance. I want to believe you watch over us with compassion and intend to free Lizzie soon. I want justice to prevent the Wilson Clark family from repeating this process on anybody else. Lord, help my unbelief. Amen. I actually submitted a third subject access request. This one was to Humberside Police, asking for specific information. PC Smith, as you'll recall, made me sign the Community Resolution Order under threat of arrest. According to PC Smith, this order cannot be revoked and will never expire. Yet, despite its apparent permanence and impact, I was never given any paperwork or a copy of the terms and conditions. That did not seem right, even for Humberside Police. So I submitted a subject access request for the terms and conditions of what I had been made to sign. Humberside Police did actually respond to that request. And just when you think Humberside Police can't get any worse, etc., etc. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of When Safeguarding Fails, the Lizzie Gladwell Crisis. Please subscribe for updates at lizziegladwell.org.uk, share this podcast and add your voice to ours. When agencies tasked with protection become the architects of obstruction, the system itself becomes unsafe. When safeguarding is treated as optional, the vulnerable are abandoned. That is why I am telling our story. Thank you again, and join me for the next episode.